color hair? Do you want extra money for bills, trips, extracurricular activities for your kids, or do you want to replace your entire income? Monat is the answer. Our products are Leaping Bunny certified, vegan, and Monat can be used by anyone, including your kids and pets. Message me on my Instagram to partner with me. Founder shares are available, and as a market partner, you have access to uncapped bonuses, 45% commission, 35 to 55% off discounts, on top of all-inclusive paid trips. Right now, I also have a free gift for anyone that partners with me, so don't miss out. You can message me on my Instagram at LizChilvers87.
We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email John at nufcmatters.com to arrange today. Good morning. Welcome to NUFC Matters. It is the professionals. Some of us are a little brighter than others, but me, Mitch and Stu are here to give you our views on what's happened at Newcastle United this week. And I guess, first of all, Mitch, we just want to say thank you to everybody who turned up last night to our end of season do, the charity fundraiser for Dementia Matters. A cracking night had by all. Some wonderful, wonderful people there. Great to meet so many people again from the chat. A lot of our moderators came along as well. Quite a few of us who present the show, whether it's the fans forum, whether it's this one, the Amigos, even Superman and Gibbo there, of course, last night to do a little bit as well. Great show, great night. I know on the raffle, I think they made over 437 quid on the raffle alone. We've got the tickets to add to that as well. We'll have a final total coming up once Woucher sort out the tickets that they've sold. So hopefully Tuesday or Wednesday I'll be able to make a full announcement. But a cracking night, Mitch.
Superb night, and I'll never get a chance to personally say thanks and hello to everybody one by one. So take this as a collective thank you. Good to meet so many people, put some faces to names. And a good evening all around with good people doing something good for it. We're very worthwhile, and for me and my dad, obviously, personal charity. So, just thanks to everybody for showing up and turning up and doing it right.
Ian says his head hurts. No surprise, Ian. Good to spend a bit of time with you last night, mate. But you can't individually name everybody, but it was great to meet so many people. And a lot of people as well who've got like pseudonyms, nicknames, whatever you want to call them in the chat, who came up and said, oh, I'm such and such, and I'm such and such. So it was great just to meet like so many of you, and the love and, the well wishes that we got from so many people. And it's I'm always humbled when people say, oh, you got me through such a bad time, and you know, this happened and that happened, and you know, and we just listen to NUFC Matters for a bit of you know, just for a bit of a escapism, and it's lovely to hear that, and it keeps me going because, you know, from my perspective, and I know the same is for the lads as well, we've all had things that we've had going on in our lives over the last 3 years, 4 years. And George, probably the prime example, he's openly discussed what he's had to go through. But we've all had our battles and troubles, yet we come to this channel and give you some content, and it gets us away from our life for an hour. So it's always great to do. And Newcastle, of course, the club that keeps on giving, never a dull moment at Newcastle, even in pre-season. Probably the most talked about club in the Premier League, and you know, we wouldn't have it any other way. And just want to speak to you, Stu, first, because obviously on the Amigos we had our chance to chat about Eddie Howe's Eddie Howe's interview. He's been interviewed this week. Paul Mitchell's been interviewed. Darren Neils has been interviewed. Now some of the players, Joe Linton, I listened to his. I've listened to Lewis Hall this morning. He's come out. The Adidas trip has been a great opportunity, I guess, for everyone to sit down one-to-one with the club's official channel, and of course later on in the week for Eddie Howe and the media. And what have you made of it collectively? Not focusing just on Eddie Howe. What have you made of it collectively? What kind of message are you getting coming out from that Adidas HQ?
Well, the most common thing I've heard this week is the Heat saying, "Is it my round again?" So
yes, you were at a wedding yesterday.
So I'm not fully up to date with everything, but Newcastle United, it's a scriptwriter's dream, isn't it? You know, they come out with quite obviously staged interviews, you know, where they know the questions are going to be asked, and I'm sure a lot of the answers are company answers, shall we say. But even when there's positivity, there's people who'll find negativity in it, you know. And you've got someone saying he's committed to the club, and that he wants to win a trophy for the fans, and yeah, he's flexing these muscles, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, if you're in a position of strength, there's nothing wrong to ask for more. It's when you're not doing well and you start asking for more and making demands, that's when it's an issue to me. So it could be a non-story. Paul Mitchell, as you know, he was my preferred option for the role that he's now got. And I think there'll always be teething issues if you try and relate it to your normal day of work. Like, for example, using Mitch, let's just say another dentist company's practice with a fantastic reputation. You know, and in theory, everything should work. With them working in tandem, everything should work perfectly. But sometimes you have to put personalities into it, and it takes the time. You know, you don't just gel with someone straight away. So, of course, Eddie Howe's marking his territory and coming out with, you know, as long as I'm getting what I want. And you can read into that and make it look like he's leaving just because of the Southgate. We've known Southgate's going to leave after this tournament for at least a year. And on numerous occasions, Howe's committed himself to Newcastle. So I don't know what more he could do, but also he doesn't want to nail his full, I'm definitely staying irrespective, and then something goes wrong. You know, he's very careful in what he says and how he says it. But I think for me, he's got the job for as long as he wants it, because we have to sometimes be careful what you wish for. I've seen some people say, well, get rid of him if he wants to leave. He's never said he wanted to leave. You know, and you've got a diligent manager who's up at the crack of dawn, and he puts more effort into improving the team, their ability, the technical play, the camaraderie between them. And I think we've got the perfect manager for where we are in our progress at this stage of the PIF ownership. And I genuinely don't think the England job would appeal to him right now. Maybe he's not in the future, but right now, because he's too hands-on. And I couldn't see him wanting to have 2 months off and then work for 2 or 3 days and then another month off, work for 2 or 3 days. Yes, you've got the going to watch matches and stuff like that. But for me, I think he'd see that as the remit of a scout. He likes to be on the training field. He likes to be in amongst it. And he's 46-year-old. There's plenty of time for him to do the England job. So I think he's committed to Newcastle, and I think Paul Mitchell has came in with a fantastic reputation, and I'm sure they're both adults, and I'm sure they'll both be together working things out for the best of Newcastle United. That's the way I take it with regarding Eddie Howe. It may change. It may change. You might not get what he wants, and they might be told you've got to do this, you've got to do that. But I think all the decisions have been made for the betterment of the team. Because if Eddie Howe was to leave, you've got the knock-on effect from there, haven't you? You know, if he leaves, then would you got players like Bruno and Gordon and all the other ones who have bought into this vision. So it's a big decision, and that's the one that Darren Eales has to look at. You've got to keep Eddie Howe happy, but at the same time, you don't bring a new guy in and make him unhappy on his first in his first month. I'm sure they'll sort it out if there's anything to sort out, and I think together there could be a huge force for Newcastle United, and that's what we need.
Yeah, I hope you're right. Yeah, me and Mitch and Steve were getting hammered for being negative. I genuinely still don't see it. And a lot of people who were met last night, face to face, one or two, yeah, said we could understand why people may have thought you were negative, but we didn't think you were being negative because of what was said. But I simply read Eddie's words out. I could read them out in a laughing, joking kind of way. Would it really change the message? I just genuinely think that Eddie was covering his back, maybe, or, you know, I don't think it discourages England from making a call to Newcastle. It's as simple as that. But I'd love him to stay. I want him to stay. I want what Stu said. I would love him to be able to work with Paul Mitchell and Darren Eales, etc. And I hope it all works out. And I hope it's great. And I hope everything in the garden is rosy. Maybe it is a touch of Stockholm syndrome. Maybe there is that little bit where you think, oh, God, it's typical Newcastle. And I met a few people last night who feel exactly like that. That's the way it is. You know what I mean? You can't change it, can you, Mitch? You can't change that feeling within sometimes. And in the words of Ronan Keating, it's only words, but it's genuinely what I heard was quite. And Biffler from nufc.com is where I read it from. He read it the same as me. And if you watch Keith Downey's channel, he did a 3-minute thing on Sky. Chat, you know, the interview with Eddie, and it came across in quite a positive way. Want to stay at Newcastle, want to win things. Go on to Keith Downey's channel yesterday. I watched his 10-minute video that he did, and he said, and this is, bear in mind, this is somebody who sat with Eddie Howe in that interview. He said, I've never seen Eddie like that. He was anxious, was the words he used. Different to what we saw on Sky and painting everything in the garden as rosy. He said Eddie was anxious. So in that respect, he felt that he hadn't shut the door on England either. So what we said on Friday, Keith Downey was saying yesterday, man.
Yeah, and I understand why people want to say I'm being negative. I'm not. I'm being realistic. I'm going to call it as I see it, like I always do. And I'm not going to pee on your back and tell you it's raining. I'm not going to say everything's rosy in the garden when patently, with what's happened over the summer, there are issues. And issues that need to be resolved going forward as quickly as possible to make this new team behind the scenes as functional as possible. And I think it's that simple. Eddie is laying his stall out, and he's doing it in a very public manner, which does come across as unlike him. And I think that's the difference that people like Keith Downey are seeing. But out of these things, surely if Eddie is the coach we believe him to be, if he can't work out a way to work with the guy that's repeatedly called the best sporting director in the business and the best performance director in the business, and he can't find a way to let them do their stuff to make his job easier and concentrate on the things he wants to do with the team, then there's no hope for anybody. You know, it's find it fascinating that people are immediately taking a negative slant on everything and saying people are being negative when all we're doing is just doing exactly what Eddie's done and not sugarcoating it. Because I won't sugarcoat it. And there are concerns I have there. We're a million miles away from where we were under Mike Ashley. But that doesn't mean I'm going to happy clap and say everything's brilliant either. Where things aren't so good, I want to, call it as I say it. There's other things going on, though, I think that could be already an indication of some things working. I know everybody's quite upset about the Wilson situation at the moment. But in me alcohol-fueled evening thoughts last night when I got home, I noticed my good pal Dr. Jesse Morse was online, the sports physician in the States, and had a little chat with him about Wilson. And he actually said, "You've got a new performance director, haven't you?" He says, "Well, perhaps the back procedure is his suggestion." He says that you've got a striker there who's got a history of hamstring and groin injuries. There's a very good chance there's problems in his pelvis or his back. And he says, and what if that's the first thing the sports director's come in? He's seen the way he's running. He's seen the way he's carrying himself and gone, no, that needs fixed. Then he won't get some of the other problems again. And again, somebody out of the passion of it, out not a supporter, somebody who's step removed from the whole thing, comes out with a line that made me totally rethink and think, well, hang on, maybe that is the benefit of having a sporting director in the house, watching them all train in Germany and seeing certain things. So that, you know, I think what will make it more clear on things like that is what is said in the media over the next couple of weeks and what activity happens in the transfer market over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I would agree. Lots of questions coming in. We will come to your questions over the course of the next hour. Don't want to dwell too much on the whole Eddie stuff, but John has put a question in here. He says, morning, everyone. Eddie's boundaries suggest he's not certain what everyone's role in the new setup entails. Do you find that slightly disturbing? And he says, can these apparent difficulties be resolved before August the 17th? We really do need to be Newcastle United. And if we're not, the only winners are our opponents. Do you think Eddie will have a major say on transfers? And if not, will he accept this? And do you think Paul Mitchell will have an input on tactics and team selection? He said, it's a bit worrying. Such questions seem valid at the moment. That's it in a nutshell, isn't it, Stu? It's the change behind the scenes. And Darren Neal saying, or was it Paul Mitchell saying, want Eddie to be good at what he does on the grass? It might have been Darren Neal's, I think. I'll have to stand corrected if I'm wrong. But that was the thing which you think, so is he not going to have a say in personnel? What did he make of all of that question there from John?
They're valid questions, and what's happened is it's not change for the sake of changing. It's change that needed to be made, and it should have been made for the better. And I'd be surprised if Eddie Howe wasn't consulted on who the director of football would be. You know, if they had a shortlist, I'm sure he would have said this. And I think what he's looking for more than anything else is clarification. Look, it's my team. I'll pick the team. I do the training. I do this. I'll take any suggestions on board, but regarding the team, I've got the final say. And ultimately, if the team don't perform, it falls on Eddie Howe's head, doesn't it? So he's right to ask, and I think he is right to ask for that amount of power, like regarding team selection. Now, it starts getting a bit grey when, as Mitch alluded to there, that you've got a new medical guy comes in and starts saying, well, I think you should be doing this for that player and you should be doing that for that player. Sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it, you know, and you've got to sell the idea to Eddie Howe, look, this will be long-term better for your team. But if we start slowly with the fixture list we've got, then the knives are out, or they're getting sharpened and they're getting longer. And it is Eddie Howe that has to face it, isn't it? It is literally his job on the line. He would go before Bunsen, before Paul Mitchell. So he understands that, and what he wants to do is be able to control what he thinks will affect that. And if that's everything first team related, then so be it. And he should be given that. Regarding the transfers, Paul Mitchell has a record and he has a network that is proven. So I don't see Eddie Howe being disappointed with someone that's coming in. It's not like Dennis Wise is coming in, is it? And said, I watched someone on YouTube. You're having him, whether you like it or not.
That's the thing. That was what I compared it to last night when I was talking to Mitch. I said it's not as bad, but it feels like, you know, when Tony Jimenez came in and Dennis Wise above Keegan and they gave him Cisco.
Yeah, exactly. So we're shopping in a different level now. It's not pound stretchers. We're shopping in Harrods. And these players just don't fall off trees, and they have to fit certain key remits that Eddie Howe wants. And it's the personality test, isn't it? It's the attitude test and everything else. It's not just about ability. Then you've got the club's reasoning that they have to be of a certain age. They have to have a resellable value. You know, they're not going to spend 50 million on someone who's 36. You know, it's getting the right, and the more you look hard at the top end, the pool shrinks of availability of players that suit what we need. Then you've got the challenge of, are we the only club wanting them? And if we are, why are we the only club wanting that special player? And if we're not, we'll have to accept that we're not going to win every transfer battle we go into. There's no need to start crying and saying it's rubbish and it's no good having these owners. If we lose a transfer battle to a Chelsea or an Arsenal or Liverpool, Man United even, it's going to happen. And it'll continue. Even the top teams, established top teams, don't win or don't get every player they get. So that makes it more difficult. But if Eddie Howe's got control of the first team and he has a say, and I'm sure he'll have a say, we'll use the position that everyone's talking about as the right wing position. I'm sure he said, that's what I'm wanting, and this is what the player needs to be capable of do. Not razzle dazzle and beat his man once every 5 times and wear a headband and loads of bandages and fall over and get one assist and 5 goals in the season. He wants someone like Anthony Gordon who's willing to track back, willing to work for the team, but also capable of producing double figures goals and assists. So they'll work together. And then I would imagine that they'll come back with a list of names and the opportunities. Look, we've got more chance of getting this, but you have the knock-on effect. If they spend more than that on the right wing, they'll have to spend less on the centre half and less on that position. And we just have to, and I'm not sick of saying this, I'll never get sick of saying it, is trust the process. They've got top people in now. And that goes back to the fact that Amanda and Merdad are no longer at the club. They've got football people in the roles, and I know I said last week, if you want the best, you want to be the best, you employ the best, and that's what they're trying to do. And we've just got to sometimes sit back and let them do their job. And if they fail, it'll be them out of a job, not us for supporting. You know, we'll always support Newcastle United, irrespective of who's doing the roles. But we've got people now, owners and people in the position, who not only want to achieve success, they're actively trying to, and more likely not capable of doing it. When have we ever had that? Seriously. And yet you still find people wanting to complain about, oh, I'm not sure about this person. This person should speak more. I can't remember the last interview the Liverpool chairman gave, or the owner, or the Arsenal owner. So why does our owner have to give interviews every 3 days just to appease people? It's not how business is done. Football's moved on from your local butcher running the club and funding it and get his money back from the meat pie sales at half time. It's not like that anymore. It's not jumpers for goalposts. You know, it's a multi-billion-pound business, and you need to have professional people in place on and off the field. And we've got a manager who is so articulate, so dedicated. He should be getting the back end, and that's what he's asking for. So if you've got that and you've got the right people who can support him, then we should be sitting back and watching this next stage of this evolution of Newcastle United take place, and it will. You know, I think we're all expecting a huge season. And I just had a quick glance on Twitter before, or X or Twix, whatever you want to call it these days. It's
I like that.
Twix there, so you're getting people, oh, we haven't signed someone. And yes, every single manager in the land would want their players in place. But remember, you've got the Newcastle tax. And if you want a certain player at the start of the window, it'll cost more than you will at the end of the window, etc., etc. There's times you can get them and times you can't get them. But we've just got a sporting director in place to assist Eddie Howe. He's not there to hamper him. He's there to help him. And he's just got his feet through the door, hasn't he? He's probably never sat in his desk because he's been straight whipped across to Germany. So once they get things sorted, they'll be. Do you think they're just doing training for an hour and then clear it off and going into the bar? No, they'll be having meetings and strategizing and planning and if we're still sitting talking about this come the end of August, then maybe they haven't hired the right people. But we've got another 6 weeks before that time comes, before the window closes. And yes, they will get players in, and we all know that Eddie Howe won't start them straight away, apparently, because that's what he does. Like, he only signs English players, like Bruno and Isaac and all the other ones that he's signed that are all English now. he doesn't start players. Do you know this stems from when he brought Bruno in, who was from a different league, and he had to blend him in because remember we were in the relegation battle, and it was blood and thunder, and he needed people who were Premier League ready, and he had to blend Bruno into the squad, and it worked. If you recall, Isak, did he not play 2 or 3 days after signing away to Liverpool when he had that goal disallowed and scored the other? It's only because Isak got injured, he wasn't playing all the time. You know, so it's, yes, it's an ideal world, but I don't know anyone who lives in an ideal world. Yeah, everyone keeps criticising those who are trying to make it as ideal as possible for us. You know, it's sometimes, for me, it's just mourning for the sake of mourning. And we should be sitting back thinking, you know what? We've got these owners, we've got these people doing that position, we've got a manager dedicated and capable, and we've got players who are overperforming, which they have for the last 2 years. They've overachieved. And now they're in a position where we're going to add better players to make the squad better. Why are we complaining?
Yeah.
Because something might happen. Well, it hasn't. Let them do their job, and then we can complain at the end of the window if they've only signed another youth player and they've only signed another right back or something like that. Then we can complain. But at the moment, we don't have. They've got players to ship out, and remember, there's players that have left from the squad. They know there's gaps they need to fill just to make the 25 up. There's gaps that need to be filled. So of course, there's going to be signings. So just relax. Let's see. Let them do the job, and we'll come back to it at the end of the window.
The other people have to remember now with these appointments, you have nobody on the actual board of the club from the ownership side now involved in anything day to day. And that gives PIF people who are absolutely accountable for what happens on the pitch with regard to sponsorship and other levels as well. And that's how big European clubs function. If we want to remain locked into this sort of Brian Clough, Nottingham Forest mindset where the manager does and says and is everything that the club is, all we'll ever be is remain the biggest club in Newcastle. If we want to be looking to be the biggest club in Europe, we need to look at how clubs like Real Madrid, Barcelona, etc., some of the Italian clubs function with their structure and their makeup, because that's what allows them to year on year be successful in some way, shape, form or another. And that's a tough transition for us, and probably would be a tough transition for Eddie in some respects. But what Eddie's got the potential to gain from that is to then grow and focus on some of the other areas that he's exceptionally good at, and leave some of the stuff that was sort of almost like a millstone to take a distraction away from some of the things he does. So I think it's just a case of let the new team bed in, let these early territorial pissings pass, and everything will be fine.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Lots of people talking about last night. Alistair gutted he missed it. We'll probably have a get together towards the back end of the year. Mitch and Stu tend to come over towards Christmas time. Hopefully they can do it again this year, and we'll let everybody know, because we've never really had a Christmas get together. We might do that and just make some more money for the Dementia Matters charity. That might be a great idea. They definitely need our help. I think everybody who was there last night will tell you how much they were grateful, but how much help that they need. So yeah, maybe we could do something at Christmas, and that means people like Alistair can have a little bit of a get together later in the year. Just changing tack slightly, Mitch, and something which is close to your heart. Jersey Mag says, do you guys have a favourite classic Adidas home and away shirt, following on from the recent visit by some to the Adidas archive? So seen some good footage, haven't we, of the players having a look around. I tell you what I quite liked, it was the shirts that didn't make. Thought that was quite interesting. The stuff that they never made, which didn't pass the test. What's your favourite ones, Mitch? I mean, I guess you could probably come up with some Newcastle ones and some ones from other teams.
One of my all-time favourite classic Adidas shirts is the one that the Dutch wore when they won the European Championships in '88, and that's an interesting shirt. Because of its history of its design. The design of that shirt, it was also worn by, I think, the Russians, the Soviet Union in that competition. and it was worn by a few other teams, but it was actually called the Ipswich. And it was a shirt that Adidas designed, intended to be worn by Ipswich in a dark blue. And they fell out with Adidas over something, and they actually changed their shirt sponsor before they could ever wear that shirt. And the shirt became a template design used for international teams. And there's some really rare light blue editions which are kicking around. I think the East Germany wore it once, I think. And there was a club side wore it in a light blue as well. So that's one of my favourite all-time Adidas shirt designs. In terms of Newcastle shirts, obviously the Grandad coloured button-up home shirt, be a classic for me. And if the collar had been a easier thing to wear, and the material hadn't been so itchy, the denim coloured away shirt was one of my favourite ones, but that's because also I had a rare version of that without the Brown Ale logo on. It had the Centre Parks logo on, and it was a set of shirts done for playing in France. I think our Joss has got that now. I think that disappeared out of my dad's loft a couple of months ago. So that shirt always sticks in my mind as well from an Adidas perspective.
Any favourite Adidas tops, Stu? That was the question after the trip to the Adidas Centre this week.
I was discussing something similar on Friday with the group I was out with, and we were talking, and I thought the Rangers home and away, when they had that successful European run, now they had the three big white stripes there. In the reverse, it was the white with the blue. And Marseille had something similar, but they were white with sky blue. I thought I still think they were timeless classics, strips. For Adidas, I thought they're probably the best ones Adidas did. That was mine. And it pains us to say Rangers being the Hearts person from Scotland, but at the same time, they were very nice strips.
I love the Pavel goalkeeper top, the one that everyone, the one with the Tyne bridge on and etc. The orange. I mean, I'm not a fan of goalkeeper strips, so that was probably one of my favourite tops for designs wise. Same as Mitch, though. You know, the blue, that denim blue was lovely. That was a really nice top. And of course, the classic purple and blue stripe one that Ginola, you know, everyone tends to remember Ginola wearing, probably one of my favourites as well, which, of course, we're going to see a re-release of that particular brand in a couple of weeks or whenever.
Speaking of Hearts, by the way, Stu, I had a cup of coffee with Jamie Fender yesterday morning, and he sends his regards to a fellow Jambo.
No, fair play to him. Give Jamie my best.
Will do, mate.
Good stuff. Okay, Peter, throwing his hat in the ring for the England job. No need to make any of those comments in public. Smacks of Rafa and his politicking. Unite Emery to replace him if he leaves, or Klopp, says Ron. Lots of people do feel that he's offered himself to an approach by England, but some people say no, it hasn't. It just shows you what happened. Somebody mentioned that Liam Kennedy, I haven't caught up with the Geordie journos this week, but said that he gave the same kind of impression that Keith Downey did from his interviews. So yeah, it's going to run and run. The way to stop it, of course, is by the England job being filled, and then we can all move on. And then, you know, he's got a big season ahead, Eddie Howe, because he has to get Newcastle back into Europe, and he's under pressure to win something in coming into the fourth year, I think. So yeah, 100%. Stephen says, I think Eddie's interview was a clever ploy on his behalf to get the fans on side. So if he did choose to leave, they would think he was pushed rather than jumping. I don't want to lose him, but almost every fan must be on tenterhooks at the moment. John is back in as well. He says, is there a chance that the Howe-Mitchell combination could be a major success? If they work in tandem, particularly on player recruitment, could it be a fruitful team? Which is what Stu was getting at before. And it's strange that Eddie's not clear about what everyone's role moving forward is. Can a little chat around the table and things get sorted? Might be down to communication skills. It can't be that hard. They've had a full week, John. They're going to have a week in Japan, more or less, to do exactly the same, and I'm sure that is what will happen. We should get Howe to speak to England if they come knocking, says Michael. What if they turn him down? What then? Would he be welcomed back with open arms when he wanted to leave? I'm not so sure. Steve asked us the question. He says, how do the panel think PIF will react to Howe's public comments? And do you think Howe will survive this whether or not England come calling. So slightly different takes, Stu. How do you think PIF will be feeling in? Broaden it a little bit. I mean, we don't hear anything from PIF. And I've got to be honest, in the outset, in the early days of the takeover, I used this channel as all you did to give me own opinion. And I said, well, is it really important we hear from them? People like Ben Jacobs, of course, who's a regular on here. We've got him back on this week. He was saying, you know, we should hear from them. I'd like to interview them. I'd like to speak to them. We know some journalists will have a different motive to speaking to them, but should we be hearing more from just a little bit more from PIF or you know, they've put people in place. Darren Eales, Peter Silverstone, now Paul Mitchell, Eddie Howe's the manager. They're quite happy with just them putting their opinions out and them sitting in the background.
Why should we hear more from them?
Yeah,
that's what I want to know. Why should we? It's you don't buy a dog and bark yourself, and you've just said it yourself. They've got the people in position to do the talking for them. You know, they've got other things to do. Our chairman is chairman of about 30 different companies. You know, so imagine if that was the case. I mean, I haven't got the exact figure, but let's say it's 30 companies, and we're talking out of those 30, Newcastle are probably value-wise about number 27 on the list. So we're not his ultimate priority, but we are a priority from that. It's an asset that needs to grow and keep increasing in value. So that's why I say if they want to be the best, they'll employ the best. And the current incumbents that we have with Darren Eales, Silverstone, etc., they've sold themselves to be the best people available at that time. If they don't prove to be, they won't be in the job to do it. So that's the pressure is blatantly on them, as it is with Eddie Howe. And it should be. It's dangerous in football, especially at the top end of professional football, where a manager can be relaxed. You think you could only really say there was two managers over the last few years, Guardiola and Klopp, that thought they couldn't get sacked. Even if they had a disastrous run, they wouldn't get sacked. But I think in general, every other manager should feel the pressure. That's the difference between succeeding and failing. And, you know, you can either thrive on it or you'll fall to it. And Eddie's talked many times about being under pressure and how he enjoys it. He wouldn't get that with England on a daily basis. I think he wouldn't get his fix. So he's canny enough not to rule himself out of the England job permanently. But for me, with this boundaries thing, it's just like, if you remember at school and you got I can't even remember what it's called, was it a compass and you could draw circles? And it just means like someone's drawn a little bit over your line and he's like, whoa, hang on, this is my circle. But then if it's sort of, look, if we take that little bit over your circle, that means you're stronger in these places and we can take some of that workload from you that's not necessary. And they will get there. With, again, the main interviews that Darren Eales has done, I thought was fantastic. He came out and answered questions, which I think were needed, especially after Amanda and Mairdad were, shall we say, asked to leave or decided to leave or the parted companies. It was clear that something needed to be said, and that's why it come from Darren Eales. But then when he referenced Eddie Howe, what he said is, we want him to stay. Not he will be staying, not we've got no intention of letting him go. It's we want him to stay. And that, sometimes you've got to be careful of how you say things. And just like you did in the January about the transfers, you know, it's like everyone's up for sale. That's it. We're a selling club again. And sometimes in his attempt to be the man of the people and to be open with everyone, there's a slip in a phrase that people can jump on and it grows legs, especially in this social media world where people want people to fail. And he's got the keys to the kingdom at the moment as in running the club. So if he wants to keep that role, then he's going to have to make sure that, because it all revolves around how the team is on the pitch. If Newcastle is successful, then upstairs looks good and the owners are happy. If Newcastle are failing, then the owners think, well, I put my money at this isn't working, someone's not doing their job right. They don't have the emotional input as we have. They're looking like we've give that much money, we should get this return. And if it doesn't balance out, then you can't keep going back. Well, in our first full season, we've got the Champions League and we don't qualify for Europe for the next 3 years. Then, of course, the action will be taken. So Eddie Howe will be under pressure for that purpose. But I don't think that frightens him. I think, if anything, that would motivate him. Because he's also going to be very careful There was a thing on the screen there. At Bournemouth, you had total control. And it's great. You might have the OCD and control freak thing. This is what some of the best people have. Ferguson had it at Man United. But if Eddie Howe then left Newcastle because someone was trying to help him pick players and choose the players for him, his job is to coach the team. That's his remit. If he then walks from there, and after what happened at Bournemouth, he then goes back into the market with his damaged goods. All the good work he's done would be tarnished with the fact that, you threw your toys out the pram because you didn't get your own way. And that comes with a air of caution to anyone looking to employ him again in the future. So there is a lot at stake here, but as I said earlier, they're all grown men and they're all highly motivated to succeed, and I'm sure they can work through it. And I'm not worried, and even if it was, as much as I've always promoted Eddie Howe, I think he's the best manager we could have for this job. If he was to go, we would get someone else, because it's a fantastic job for any manager. Just about any manager in the world would like the opportunity now to run this club in the position they are in right at this moment. So Eddie Howe knows that, but there's nothing wrong with wanting him to flex his muscles a bit and try and get a bit extra. In fact, I'd be pretty disappointed if he didn't, because then he's just accepting everything that gets thrown his way. Sometimes you've got to kick back, and then at least things get talked about, ironed out and explained, and we move on again.
You're mute, Steve.
I noticed. Would you agree, Mitch, with that kind of assessment from Stu?
Made it pretty clear and very eloquently, I feel, from early on, that the way PIF work and a lot of their other businesses, in fact, most of their other businesses, is they put the right people in place to do the day-to-day, to run the show, and they get the feedback from them, and they hire and fire based on performance and how they are doing. And Newcastle United will be no different in terms of communication from PIF and in terms of communication and feedback back to PIF. This is Darren Neal's show now. This is all on him. And that's who you'll hear communicating when he feels is necessary. It won't be every 5 minutes, because you don't hear from... in fact, the only sort of part owner stroke executive you've heard making his mouth go a lot recently is Ratcliffe at Man United, and he's made an absolute tit of himself over the last few months, if you ask me. So less said, the better. As far as this stuff went on and got sorted out behind the scenes and made sure there's no dysfunction, or if a conscious uncoupling is required, then that happens as soon as physically possible. It's as simple as that. And we'll not hear from PIF directly. You'll not get much from the chairman. The chairman's statements are very discreet, carefully written and strategic, and that's what they'll always be. Plainly and wholly right now, because there's nobody else in a position to dip into the overarching situation on all fronts other than Darren Neal's. And like I say, it's his show now.
Steve, just going back to the original question, because I know I went on about Eddie Howe again. And I will say in Ben Jacobs' defence, because he said it himself, he's a journalist, and getting an interview with our chairman, because of his role in other companies and his status within not just Saudi Arabia, but the business world, the sporting world now with Live Golf, that would be like gold dust. It would be like 20 people a day coming into Mitch's surgery and saying, I need the most expensive treatment done. So of course you can understand why Ben wants an interview with Yasser Al-Rumayyan. There's no doubt about that. But the real reason behind it is for his own personal gain. It's not for... He's the one that got that interview. He's the one that got the interview with the Newcastle chairman. Of course he wants it. That's his job, and I understand that, but he's openly admitted that as well. So that's the reason behind it. But there isn't many people at the top end of the club. Before this Ratcliffe came in, the Glazers didn't do any talking. And as Mitch said, Ratcliffe talks and he's better off not. He's getting so many things wrong. Imagine we had a chairman like that. It'd be embarrassing.
Yeah, it would be. Absolute nightmare. He's been one faux pas after the other. So yeah, you're right. And like ultimately, we're going to get dragged back to Eddie Howe all the time, because it's in the news, and people are joining the show late. They want to watch it. They want to ask us our views. So, you know, we're always going to talk about what you want to talk about. It's your show. Okay, halfway through, tab break for Stu. Here's the ads.
A big thanks to all our sponsors. Skips and Bins. You can find their website at skipsandbins.com. Contact us, www.skipsandbins.com/contact. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. A big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. Their website, mrvickies.co.uk. Email info@mrvickies.co.uk. Telephone 01768 210 102. Thanks to United Group Travel. They are the travel. A big thanks to all our sponsors. Skips and Bins. You can find their website at skipsandbins.com. Contact us, www.skipsandbins.com/contact. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. A big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. Their website, mrvickies.co.uk. Email info@mrvickies.co.uk. Telephone 01768 210 102. Thanks to United Group Travel. They are the Travel and Tourism Award winners in 2024. Their website, www.unitedgrouptravel.com. Email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com or telephone 01670 632 460 or mobile 0791 666 4174. Just £30 per person deposit. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. A big thanks to Media Arts. You can find them at www.media-arts.co.uk. And don't forget, we are a podcast. You can find us on iTunes or Spotify or other podcast providers. If you want to help the channel grow, then hit the like button, the little thumb underneath the video, click share and share to your social media, or join the channel for as little as $1.99 a month. If you want to take out a one-off payment membership, go to nufcmatters.com and hit membership. And for a £25 fee, you get a scarf, a cup, a pen, and a membership card. You can also put a smartphone over the top of this QR code. It'll take you straight there. And don't forget, we also help the food bank on this channel. nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk is a website where you can make a virtual donation today.
And we're back. Yeah, a double set of adverts there because I pressed the wrong button. I realised I still had the stuff on the screen, so apologies for that. But great news for the sponsors. Lovely to meet Beverly last night as well, by the way, from the bus company. Great to see her. She came along and supported the event last night. Like I say, so many of you there to thank. But yeah, big shout out to Beverly. Thank you for coming along. Great to meet her and her husband. Wilson says, Keith, injury gain. Does that mean we prioritise even more for a new striker, Mitch? Back surgery now. You mentioned it before. Disappointing. With, that. Again, he's starting the season how he ended last season.
But in the context that I was given it last night by Dr. Jesse Morse, this could be the last procedure for a long time for somebody who's had persistent muscular injuries in the groin and in his hamstrings. And so we don't know what the situation is with him. We don't know what the circumstances of what the procedure is about. The procedure could be preventative, not necessarily therapeutic. It's very strange, but I don't think they're going to bring too much in terms of feedback of what's actually going on. But again, it does represent what we've been saying for ages. We really do need, in my opinion, need another option up front to cover Isaac and Wilson and take the pressure off the need to have them available for so many games a season. Because if we can take their workload off, hopefully they'll get fewer injuries. And that seems relatively obvious to me. I know that the idea that Gordon can come across and cover, but are we then really getting the best out of Gordon in that role? And I think the answer would be no. So it just backs up that the fact that a striking option really is required, in my opinion.
Thank you to Trolls for gifting the membership. I'm not sure who got it, but thank you. Hugh, strikers. I mean, we seem to have been talking about this for the best part of 2 years now, but I mean, since Isaac came in, we've still needed another one. And obviously Callum Wilson injured again. Oh, you're on mute, mate. I think I muted you because I could hear you during the ads. There you go. You're back now, mate. It's my fault.
I was getting negotiated when I was on here because I'm going out this afternoon. So the wife was asking for money for shopping and there was a debate on the amount. So the drinks are cost us a lot before I even start. Regarding Wilson, is anyone surprised that there was an injury or was a surgery? No, I don't even think Wilson's surprised with all the goodwill in the world and all the talent that he has. I don't think anyone expected him to go the full season uninjured. Yes, the season hasn't started, but as Mitch has pointed out there, it could be a short-term loss for a long-term gain. But even with taking that into account, there was always a need for a third striker. Always a need for a third striker. So I don't think that would change any transfer plans that may be in place, because I'm sure that's already one of the key positions identified for first team readiness. And then that opens a debate like who do you sign? We could do probably three of us on different options because Isaac's going to be number one. There isn't many, if any, strikers better in the world to do that position and in that role for our club. So it's getting the right player, and they will get another forward in for certain. They know they need to. It'll be negligent if they don't. And we can't sit here and say we've got the best off the field team and players, and then they fail at the first hurdle or the first window, as it is. So I'm confident that they will be buying a forward. What type of forward, I don't know. There's a debate on someone different, i.e. the Chris Wood mould, like a target man, someone to hold the ball up, someone to help if we're trying to hold on to a lead that can get back and help with corners, etc. Or is it someone that's going to play a multiple role across the front, or someone that's just a centre forward with blistering pace? And that's for them to decide, not us. And so for me, that position was always going to be needed. Hopefully, Isaac does stay fit for the full season, but I don't think Wilson's going to be out for that long, is he? But there will be another striker added to it, even if Wilson is out for a month or so. So again, we're not playing anyone of any significance until the 17th of August. And then there's 2 or 3 games after that. Then there's an international break, etc. So I think there's 3 or 4 games before then there's a gap. That's how it normally is. So will we get through that? And then by the time that gap comes back, Wilson should be fit, and hopefully over a longer period, because his ailments have been rectified. But for me, unfortunately for Wilson, as great as he's been for us, the amount of injuries he's picked up, he's not going to get better because of them. His trajectory, his age, his talents will only wane. Now that's the point I'm getting at. He'll never lose out and put the ball in the net, but what he will lose is the pace to get in the positions to do so. Even if it's just by 1 or 2%, it makes a massive difference at the top end. So will we get an extra striker in? Yes, but I wish Callum a speedy recovery and make him as fit for as long as possible after that. But then we're always going to get another striker anyway.
Yeah, I would agree. Somebody asked us a question. Where is it? About the goalkeeper. There's a couple of other questions coming in about. There it is. Sutty, are you confident going into the new season with our current goalkeeper backups, Mitch? Do you think there'll be any more movement in the goalkeeper department?
The goalkeeper movement has really puzzled us, and I still can't find an answer to it. We've still got Bravka on the books.
Mm-hmm.
That's seems odd. We brought Rudy in, who seems to be fulfilling a particular role. Gillespie's still there, who seems to be fulfilling a slightly different role. None of which really is about the first team. And then we've got the new Greek signing, who let's not forget, he was number one at Benfica for 4 years. That's pretty damn good on your CV. But then at Forest, he seems to slip behind Cells, which, you know, whether it's just a case of wrong club at the wrong time. But he seems to have been brought in, seems to be somebody who's been on my radar in the past. But I don't get what the plan is with all of this, because we still hear word that we're interested in Trafford still. Or would he be bought and then loaned back? But who knows? Or are we seeing deals that were done on the back end of the whole PSR thing, and now Mitchell's properly in place, and maybe he wants to suddenly pump the brakes on a lot of things and take stock? Either way, starting the season with a surfeit of goalkeepers, which doesn't necessarily leave us stronger than we were last season, seems to be a bit of a weird one. I can't work it out.
Goalkeeper is a strange one, Stu, isn't it? I mean, they brought Rudy in, and it looks as if they brought him in to train the keepers rather than play. Trafford, is there still? Do you still think there's a little bit of, you know, to and fro to be done with that? I believe they've let a goalkeeper go at Burnley. Do you think that's dead in the water now?
I think to answer this question, Stu, we can only speculate, especially the
speculation. It's our opinion
regarding the goalkeeping situation, because if we were to buy Trafford and loan him back, this doesn't make sense if we've only got 50 million to spend. Isn't that right, Alan Thompson? So why would we use the rest of our budget buying someone that we can't play? We need to bring people in for the here and now. So if Trafford was to come, then that sheds light on his Nick Pope staying. Because why would you get I'll call him the Greek keeper, because the pronunciation after the alcohol I've consumed over the last few days would make it probably sound like something off a Scrabble board than his correct name, so I don't want to do him a disservice. So, but that goalkeeper was good enough to be playing Champions League football, quarter-final stages, and for me, he's got the hallmarks of a great number two. So would they be bringing in Trafford as a number one? I don't think he's ready to be Newcastle United's number one in the season that we've got planned. So for me, I don't think they'll be getting Trafford unless Pope is to leave. And if Pope was to leave, I'd be surprised if they thought Trafford would be the answer instantly.
Okay, Ivan Toney was a question from Rob Maltman, who does our flyers. Hiya, Rob. Thanks for joining us today. Would you take Toney back if we were offered him?
Me?
Yeah, we need a striker.
Yeah, we need a striker, but when I take him back, that goes back to something that I said before the ads, was he fits the bill, he ticks a lot of the boxes, but his attitude, by all accounts, is not right, and you can see how he was with Brentford at the end of the season. You know, it was all about him, and was the effort put in there? Would he want to come back to Newcastle? I think he believes he'd be in London. Maybe he's top number on Arsenal. And quite right, as that just flashed on the screen there, I don't think Toney would want to come and sit on the bench, and he's not better than Isak. So would I want him in the squad for his football ability? Yes, in the squad. But I think the only way we would get him is if we had European football, Europa League, Champions League to offer him, where he knows he would get rotated in quality game time. So I think it's a non-starter for someone like Toney. But if I'm proven wrong, then it's a quality addition, isn't it?
Yeah. Mitch?
If I can have Ivan Toney, the footballer, the way he's grown since he left Newcastle United, and you could see it in the European Championships, and you can see it when he's played for Brentford last season, yes, he would fit into our system beautifully, I think. However, he would need to be surgically detached from his ego. and anybody who's openly saying at a club that he wants to move to Arsenal, to Real Madrid, to this, to that. If I was a Brentford fan, I wouldn't be happy about it. I think that's exceptionally disrespectful to Brentford, who've really turned him into the footballer he's become. So it's one of these yes or no. I mean, at the right price, yeah, it'd be worth a punt. But should we be taking punts? I think I'd rather have something more certain.
100% Mitch says, Les. A question for the panel from Spenny Morning. Spenny says, do you see Mitchell being more involved in the press like Amanda was, like a club spokesman, including director of football job? I thought he spoke very well, a lot better than Eels.
No, I think we've lost. The one thing we've lost is an approachable, cuddly, touchy-feely element to Newcastle United when it comes to the press. I think Eels will handle the press in a very different way. He'll be much more strategic, and it'll be limited statements, scripted statements, and stuff like he's already done. I don't see it being any from Newcastle being quite the same in terms of handling media as it would be with Amanda at the club still.
Rob says, I love the irony of saying Ivan Toney is worth a punt. Well played. Okay. What's your views on the PR side of it, Stu? Do you think Darren Eales will be the man?
I think he has to be. Wants to lead by example, and that's what he has to do. He's got the top job there, but it's hard. I've never been a CEO of a football club. I've never been a CEO of anything. So for me to give an expert opinion on what his role is, I can only give what my interpretation of his role is. And that is to make sure that everyone is doing the job, because it all goes back to one thing. And this is what I say in my industry. We've got the sales team, then you've got the builders, the finance team, the HR, the after sales. There's so much cogs to a wheel. But if we as a sales team don't sell, then there's no money coming to the company. None of them have got a job. So they have to understand that everything should be built up to make the first team the most successful. And that goes with the youth team, it goes with the women's team and everything else that goes on. The primary objective of this football club is to have the 11 players at any one time on the pitch playing for Newcastle United to be a winning team. And the rest will fall into place. What they're doing behind the scenes is the much as they can off the field to make that easier. So is Eales the guy that does the speeches? Yes, but I don't think he's going to sit down like Eddie Howe does and does a weekly news conference. You know, we
don't need to do that. Nobody does it. We mentioned that before.
Yeah, but the thing is, Steve, I joked about it earlier. You could script writers dream this club. And if he had to then come out and have someone draft a speech for him to say every time there was speculation or a rumour around Newcastle United, he'd never be able to do the job he's meant to be doing. You know, and you have to consider you can't please everyone all the time. Only some of the people some of the time. So you do what you think's best to make this club better. And if he does it, then we're all going to gain from it. If he doesn't, he's the one that'll lose from it. Because we've all agreed earlier, we'll still support them, whoever owns us, whoever plays for us. Look at the rubbish we've watched. You know, we're talking the other day about picking a first 11, and Mr. Hasey was getting himself stressed. He said he could probably pick 6 first 11s in the time that he's watched them. You know, so we're not at that stage now. You know, and you start looking at who is the worst player in your squad. Well, this season going forward, it's probably by the time this window is finished, it'll probably be the most quality squad, not the quality first 11, because we'll still level it against the entertainers, but squad depth wise that we've ever had.
Yeah.
And that's the position that we're nearly in, and we want it now. We all want it now. But regulations that are out of our control are the ones that are holding it back. It's not the willingness of Darren Eales. I'm sure he wants the club to be as successful as possible. You know what I mean? He wants another photograph in bed with a trophy. That's what we want to see. I mean, I don't think I woke up this morning to see pictures of Darren Eales in bed, like, you know, but of him with a trophy, because that means we've won something. And the world becomes a better place.
Yeah.
You know, and that's that's what everything is geared up to. So is Darren Neal's the man to do his speeches? Yes. But it'll be as and when he sees fit or he's told. I think you need to address the fans. And if he keeps getting told, then that's an issue. And if he then does it when the PAF think he shouldn't be doing it, that becomes an issue. He's got a very fine balancing act to keep. And as much as we all are invested in the team and the team to be as good as it can be, his selfishness, his personal focus will be pleasing the people that pay his salary. And you can't really blame him for that. So if he's not answering every question that someone once answered, that I can understand it. Yes, it can frustrate, and yes, sometimes these things could be nipped in the bud. But we've seen this with Eddie Howe in the links to the England job. The Southern press don't want a successful Newcastle United, and they know by creating some rumours, destabilising Newcastle United's growth, it keeps them where they are and it keeps us where we are, etc., etc. And it could have been handled a bit better, but again, there was a 10-minute interview and one little phrase has been blown out of proportion and discussed. Did they then have to keep coming back and, oh, sorry, I know I said that, but when I said that, I meant this, not the way you've taken it. That's how the press make the money. They make money out of scandal. They make money out of rumours. They make money out of, for clickbait. We know this. So will Darren Neal's, I don't want him speaking every week or every month, because every time he does, it gets ripped apart anyway. And he'll say something that can be interpreted wrong. But when things need addressed, yes, the answer is he should be the man doing it. It shouldn't be the CEO. It shouldn't be Silverstone. It shouldn't be Eddie Howe having to answer every question. Football related, yes. But I think with Sperry asked the original question, would it be Paul Mitchell? No, I think it should be Darren Neal's.
Alan says he's written his list of worst players. He's been working on it for 2 weeks and he still hasn't finished it. Simon says, I'm watching on delay now. I agree with the lads. Trust the process. Give Mitchell a chance to show what he can do. Let the dynamic find its own level. There was a question from Neil Calvert, which I've lost. I'm having an absolute nightmare. I'm blaming last night's activity.
The one about City and...
any news on sponsorships? It's something we get every week when we do this show. Is there anything filtering out from the Middle East about, potential sponsorships? No,
Nothing.
Is the answer. Yeah, nothing at all. It's as simple as that. And we'll probably be the same as you guys. We'll be the last to hear about it. We'll hear about it when the club decide to announce it. I quite like this one from RB. Diaby, Madison, Szoboszlai. 1 year on, did we really miss out? Great question, that. Mitch, what's your thoughts? Did we miss out on any of those players?
Diaby's already gone to Saudi. Madison's looked awful. And Szoboszlai's looked average. So no.
I'd say no, yes, no. I think Diaby, no. Madison, yes, we did miss out. And Szoboszlai, not from what we've seen so far. Remember, Madison was instrumental in Tottenham being top of the league for the first few months of the season. Then he got injured and then lost his place in the England squad. But I think, well, we all know that he was wanted and he's still a very capable player. I watched him on Wednesday night. Tottenham played Hearts in a pre-season friendly, and he looked focused. He only played the first 45 minutes, but he looked focused and up for it. But at the end of the season, did we miss him? Well, I think if we look at how we were with injuries and the right wing conundrum, I think we would have taken Madison and put him there. I know he's more centre, but he could have done a job on the right. Will we get him? No, but rumour has it he's not too happy at Tottenham at the moment. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I agree. It's what we were talking about before. Imagine if we sign Pedro Neto and Malik Theo next 2 weeks. We'll have a fantastic team. Also, best bench in the last 20 years. How stay or go doesn't matter. Even caretaker manager could be in the top four with that team. Yeah, it's the point we're making. Yeah, we are building slowly. Do we think Pivas, if that's the way you pronounce it, God knows, will be loaned out or slowly brought in by Howe, like he did with Livramento and Hall? Yeah, this is the new guy we've brought in, isn't it? I mean, again, it's potentially a player that we've brought in, Mitch, to probably loan out. It's the nature of the beast at the minute. We saw it with Minty. Sometimes they don't even get a chance to play for the first team.
Yep, and so I think that would seem the logical way to look at it. But with whatever they decide they want to do with it, let's roll with it. Let's not double what they're trying to do and second guess ourselves. If they will do what they feels right for the development of that player.
Yeah, you agree, Stu?
Yeah, absolutely. No need to repeat what he's just said.
Yeah. Okay. Other questions that we had. Somebody said, do you think the owners will be preparing for a worst case scenario right now? Looking at who could replace Howe if he took the England job.
Easy link. Sorry, Mitch. Good.
Owners looking at that. That'll be Eales and Mitchell. That's their remit.
Stu?
It was an easy link, isn't it? Because of the time at Southampton and talking together and speak to people this week, it looks like we've already got Pochettino in the door. You know, it's one of those because he's out of a job, etc. And then Graham Potter miraculously has said he's ready for management again, just as his contract with Chelsea that he's still getting paid for is running out. Was that a hint that I'll take the Newcastle job if offered, if Howe leaves, or is it I want the England job? Or is I just want any job that's going to give me a lot of money job? And that's what it is. But until things change, Eddie Howe is our manager, and I hope I'm still saying the same thing in 5 years' time.
Yeah, Potter was always going to hang around for the England job. He knocked so many jobs back. He was always going to do that. So there's no doubt in my mind that he will be the next England manager. I can't see any other person going for it. But we'll wait and see. They've got to go through the they've got to go through the protocol. They've advertised the job now. Emmett, good morning. Says, have you lads seen the pictures on social media of the new away shirt in the New York Adidas shop? Yeah, now I think this is the one that Spenny's been sending around on social, on our WhatsApp group. It looks really nice, the green and white one, if that is it, Mitch.
Is it not the blue and red hoops?
Oh, I don't know. I've not had time to upload Spenny's picture, but he sent a green and white one with the old NUFC badge onto me this morning, which looks as if it's a professionally done photograph.
Mitch is the only person in the Northeast Spenny hasn't sent it to.
All right. So Stu, is this the right? Am I talking about the right one or the wrong one?
The white and green one. Well, because it's white and green, I won't be buying it anyway. But it does actually look quite a nice top.
So is that the one that's on? Is that the one that's on sale in New York? Or
that's the one that's going to Spenny.
It's the red and blue hoops. They've obviously put it out too early. There's one on a mannequin, and there's a rack of them behind the mannequin.
Is it? I'll send the image what Spenny sent.
Yeah, the green and white one. I'll show it tomorrow night on the fans forum. I haven't had time to upload it, but it looks really nice. I mean, I'll buy all three, but that one really does look good.
From the people seen on the phone there, that Adidas promo shot, classic Adidas promo shot from the minute, with a model with her hands in the pockets and trying to the wall. That's how they're doing all their shirt pictures at the minute. So yes, that is not the one in the New York shop. The one in the New York shop, base strip.
All right, okay. Well, we'll show the other one tomorrow night. I'm sure you'll have all seen it by then, but we'll have a quick chat with the lads about that tomorrow night. Alan's been in a couple of times. He's been having a love-in with Stu today. That's probably the best way to describe it. If I could play some romantic music, I would play it today. He did post this one earlier. He said, well, lads, after the -4 on Friday on the Three Amigos, the Stockholm Syndrome well and truly took over. A small club spent £80 million, a big club spending zero. Where's this £200 million, Stu?
Well, I know where the money is. Where's it getting spent is what everyone's debating, and how much of it's going to be spent. Well, I think I've addressed this previously from Alan, just to give him a bit of airtime. His was 50 million, and I said 200 because he wanted to back Ben Jacobs. So I noticed on last week's forum he changed his figure to 75 million. So although I was called silly and stupid by him, I can work out that 75 million is 50% more than 50 million. So if he can add 50% to his, can I take 50% of mine? Because that would then bring mine down to 100 million. Or does that not how the bet works? People can change, but I can't. I'm still confident we're going to spend a huge amount of money, and it'll definitely be a lot more than what the pessimistic people have quoted. And I'd rather be positive than pessimistic. But if you look at all the rumours and all the split the rumours from the facts, the fact is we bid 60 million for Elise. The fact is we bid 17 million or whatever it was for Trafford, and they both don't play in the same position. and we've already then spent 33 million on the Greek goalkeeper and Lewis Hall. So if I do my maths right, that's at least 100 million available, and there's other positions that need filling. So I'm more than confident that my figure will be of 200 million will be by the end of the window, they'll be closer to that figure than they will of the figure given by Ben and Alan of 50 million. Yeah. And if not, ask him if he wants to take Ben's bet over.
There you are, Alan. Do you want to take Ben's bet over? You're still in the chat, I presume. So there you are. You've got an opportunity to go head to head with Stu Penman, mate, for charity. That would be good. We'll see what he says tomorrow night, unless he responds now. I've managed to load those pictures.
I think we know the answer, Steve. I think we know the answer.
There's the picture that Spenny circulating this morning on WhatsApp. Thanks for that, Spenny. That's great. I love that. I'm definitely like that. I think that's a really nice top, and I love the badge. So yeah, it's a yes from me, that one. That's the one that Mitch was talking about, that somebody's mentioned in the chat. I don't think it looks bad at all. It's okay. Maybe it's not the greatest of angles and whatever, but probably put it out slightly earlier. But yeah, I mean, we saw somebody at the do last night wearing a DH Gate special, didn't we, Mitch?
Aye. So they're already out there. It's it happens every year. There's another thing that we have over in Dubai called Lazada, which is basically the DH Gate. And the only thing you have to watch for is sizes. Asian sizes can catch you on the hop.
Yeah, that's right. You're true there. George is in the chat. Good morning, George. He put an exclamation mark in first. I thought he was losing his temper again, but no, he's
on my side. He's on my side, is George.
He is. He's sticking it out there, which is great. Don't bet for money, bet for eyebrows. Way more fun, says Craig. There was quite a few Lee jokes in there earlier on as well. Somebody said we should sign his brother Sutton. Yeah, very good. There's lots of them flying around. I didn't get a chance to go through them. White and green, but I'll probably get them both, says Roger. Good to see you last night, Roger. Certain people want Eddie to go to England because they say a chance of the red tops getting our star players. Those destroying Newcastle's push for the top. And Mick says, put your money where your mouth is, Alan, who seems to have gone off for his dinner. Not keen on the bird feather shirt, says David. And if we can spend 200 million on Pedro Neto, Mamardashvili, Malik Theo, and Emerson Atalanta, we are title contenders next season, says Senk. And the magpie feather training top was also in the background of the photo of the away top of the Adidas flagship store on 5th Avenue in New York City. I think it's quite a nice top, that as well. I think there's lots of them are. Do you think,
Steve, do you think, because Mitch mentioned it, do you think it was displayed in error, or is it one of those, it'll get more publicity by saying, oh, we put this out and it's a new launch and we shouldn't have done it early. It gains more traction and it helps the North American market.
Possibly, yeah.
Few things happen by accident, as you and I both.
Exactly.
Feather training kit is out on Tuesday online and in store, says Mozza. Thank you for that. Thanks for sending us the photo, Mozza. Sen, we've answered that one about the 200 million. Stu was going to stand by his words. I mean, somebody's just put Kieran Maguire predicted Newcastle could spend anything up to 325 million in an article that he did. Mandy Pyle, lads, what do you think about Wilson? We covered that earlier on. We'll take Clark's question. Do you think Trips will leave? And if so, do we need a replacement? Yeah, I mean, we went quite heavy on that. I certainly did a few weeks ago. And in January, there was definitely an opportunity to sell him. And he didn't go. We're not going to discuss his personal issues. We don't know what's going on. We've seen things being played out on social media, but that's not for us to discuss. It's for them to discuss. From a footballing point of view, I've got to be honest. I'd like him to stay. Maybe he's another season. At least I still think we can get things out of him next season. I think he's a leader. I think he's been every bit as important as Brian Kilcline was under Kevin Keegan when he came in. And if we can get another season out of him, I'd like Kieran Trippier to stay. If not for the fact that if we win something this year, he's part of it. He deserves it. He deserves to go away with a dust collector. But do I think he's going to leave? I do think he will leave this summer, but never say never. Maybe Mitchell has come in, he's had a chat with him, he's had a chat with all the players, and he's managed to turn what looked like a negative into a positive. Maybe he's going to stay. But again, it's a flip of a coin. It's only our opinion. Newcastle could have sold him in January. They didn't end up doing that. He's coming up to an important part of the end of his career as well. He's going to want another payday, one last payday. So it's a flip of a coin. It's your opinion, Mitch. Is Trippier going to be here at the start of the season?
I think it's quite clear he had one foot out of the door not so long ago. Would it surprise me to see him leave? No. But you're absolutely correct. New sporting director may have sat down with him and said, look, I want you involved. And that might change everything. All it takes is the right conversation at the right time. It certainly was clear that, to me, Eddie Howe was keen not to lose him. Mm-hmm. So again, if he's keen to keep him around, and I think you're right, from an experienced leadership perspective, he brings a lot to the table. It's also clear for a 6-week period his head wasn't in the right place. He made some errors that were absolutely out of character and seemed to lose all concept of what offside meant for a little bit. So the challenge is, again, looking at it from a purely business perspective, he's a player who has bookable value under PSR that could be used to help balance the books. And so if the right offer came along, I don't think it would be beyond the club to accept it.
Stu?
I'm going to say something that might be controversial and negative for how I normally speak on here. I think, for me, Trippier has the look of a boxer that doesn't know when to quit. He's been at the very top, and his decline over the last 6 months has been astounding. Sorry, but you hit the nail on your head with the analogy of he's done the role that Brian Kilcline did, but Keegan knew when to get rid of Brian Kilcline.
Yeah,
and he did. For me, Livramento is the future at right back, and you've got to take sentiment out of it. And I don't think we could hamper Livramento's growth, because then he's shown enough that he should be starting for us now. And if he's been told you're still going to be number 2 next season, just one more year, then how's his head going to be? So I think, well, we know that Trippier actually flew to Munich to speak with them. He broke a holiday off in the States to go and meet them, so he was open to a move. And I would take, he's better. I would take 10 million for him, because if you amortize that, then it gives us scope to spend even more money. Then we're in a position where we have to start looking and shedding the squad of who is capable of making us challenge for the Champions League this year, and then could sustain it the following year, where we probably won't spend as much. This is why I still believe this is the year they'll spend as much as they can out of the 3-year cycles, because it's a free hit. In effect, they don't have the pressure of the Champions League or any European football this year, and it gives them time to actually go full tilt at the league and create the depth going forward. And then it comes to every window, it might just be 1, maybe 2 additions with the money. That's how close we are. And I know I spoke last week about, had Tonali not been suspended, we would have had European football, and that's ignoring all injuries. You take all those injuries that we've had out of it, say we only had half of them, it'd be like a normal team, because we never do anything by halves in Newcastle. But let's say we did, we wouldn't have that spell where you had a 17-year-old half-injured Sean Longstaff in a Brazilian international who wasn't allowed to tackle because he was on a booking, playing 12 games in a row. And that's what cost us getting into Europe. It wasn't the defeat at Old Trafford, which still rankles in my stomach, but it was that period. We know the Bournemouth games, the Luton games, the Forest at home. That's where we lost it. And if Tonali had been fit, so we've mentioned so many times about fine margins, but that's just one player, Tonali. You start adding the players that everyone in the chat seems to be linking us to, and they're all quality players, which will make us better. And we don't have the Champions League. It's not just the extra 6 games, because that's what we had. It's not just that. It's the mental fatigue that follows a defeat after it. You know, for some of them, it's probably the only time they're going to get near the Champions League. If we're being harsh, so those players who represented us in the Champions League last year, you could probably say if we were to get there next year, maybe it's only 4 or 5 would be still in that team if we're playing Champions League football the following year. And they're not going to sign for a team that's going to put them in the Champions League. And I won't mention names and single them out because it's not fair on them. But I'm sure we've all got our own opinions of who those players are. So we are close to being right at the very top. Not at the very top just yet, but we're building towards it. And I still think our centenary year of the century of last winning the top league, 1927. I think we'll be in a position to challenge to win the Premier League in that year. As long as they spend big this summer and they hit the ground running, we've seen what momentum can do the season before last, and we'll do it with a better squad.
Well,
gone.
Yeah, been a great show, lads. When do you head home, Stu? When do you head home, Mitch?
I'm away tomorrow morning, 6 o'clock.
That's what he said with me this afternoon.
When do you go back, Stu?
Tuesday.
All right. Well, listen, have a great time. It's great to see you face to face and chew the fat as always. And down to Malverno. Safe trip. Look forward to seeing you when you're back in the UK. Safe travels, and we will see you both next weekend. Take care, lads.
Thanks, everyone.